Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kings of War tournament report. I'm Visibly Riley and today we have my game 2 against Salamanders. Now before we begin I'd like to apologize for the sound quality. Right now I am house sitting and the room I'm recording in just isn't that great. But this is the best we've got, so moving forward. Here we see my regular opponent's Salamanders list, but I'll run through it real quick anyway. First, we have a horde of Salamander Primes with the Blessing of the Gods, followed by 2 hordes of Fire Elementals. Then we have a horde of Gekota Sky Raiders with the Jar of 4 Winds. We have a horde of Ranchants on Rhinosaurs with the Caterpillar Potion, a Commodon, 3 Lichilodons, a Herald with the Loot, 2 Mage Priests, both of whom have Martyr's Prayer. One has Surge and one has not the Helm of Confidence. I refuse to change this picture, I guess, but the Inspiring Talisman. Then we have, lastly, a Clan Lord on Fire Drake with Wings and Blade of Slashing. I've played against this list many times, so it'll be no surprise to you. Before we get down to deployment, we end up with... I walked into this round with a 10-10 tie from the last round, and my opponent, right now, my regular opponent, walked over to me at the end of my game because he was running a little late and said he also had a 10-10 tie. Then we decided to get to lunch, and after a long parking fiasco, we ended up being a little late to round 2 and had to play each other. But at least we were perfectly in the middle. We both had 10 points, so there's that. The scenario for round 2 was invade, so we're just trying to get across that center line. And my deployment is as follows. Off to the left, slightly out of frame, are the 3 Scurriers. You can see one of them slightly in, and the Assassin, followed by my weapons team. Then we have all 8 regiments of slaves arrayed in front of my army, followed by the 2 hordes of shock troops, and in the middle of them, the Blight and Warlock. And then off to the far right are the Vermintide. And then I think in the left, by where the Scurriers are, is my Demon Spawn. My opponent's deployment has the Gekota Sky Raiders on the left there. Then to the right of them, we've got the Clan Lord on Fire Drake. To the right of them, the Rhinosaurs. To the right of them, the horde of Salamander Primes. Behind them, the Mage Priest without Surge. Then to the right of them, we have the 2 hordes of Fire Elementals with the Mage Priest with Surge behind them. Then we have the Commodon is the little Palanquin guy. And to the right of him, we have 3 Lichilodons, behind them being the ASB with the Loot. So, pretty normal deployment here. I actually don't hate our table. We have a rather large hill, but it's not that big of a concern here just because of its placement. I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm really hoping to get first turn here. As in invade, it's really important that you push the center as quickly as you can. And specifically with my army, as I don't really have any ranged pressure, I really need to press that center as quickly as possible. So anyway, moving forward. Here we see my Vanguard. I send all 3 Scurriers forward along with their Assassin. And yeah, the idea here is that he can charge the front Scurriers with anything he wants. He can't charge the second one even though they're in range because he needs more than a millimeter of clipping room to get it. And yeah, I don't really care if he charges these Scurriers with any of that because I will countercharge with with the Demon Spawn or just shoot or any number of other things. So come at me, I say. And turn 1. But unfortunately, I don't get turn 1, so my opponent does, and he does exactly what I was talking about, only he does have range pressure. So he does sort of this flying V with the Salamander Primes at the 4, and then behind them the Mage Priests, and then the Fire Elementals with the 2 heroes behind them, and then the Clan Lord moves just within 12 of the front Scurriers, with the Gekota Sky Raiders just staying out of the way. The Rhinosaurs, I think, could have probably moved a little closer, but maybe they were trying to stay out of range of my Demon Spawn, although I somehow doubt that that's within 20 of them. And then off on the right, we see his Lichilodons and Commodon just sort of staying back because they don't have any shots turn 1 anyway, and he knows I'm going to have to press into him. So yeah, with his shooting, the Gekota Sky Raiders combined with the Clan Lord put 6 wounds onto the front Scurriers and removed them. So yeah, end of his turn. I like what he did here. Again, I think that the Ancients probably could have been a little farther up, just because there's no reason for them to be that far back unless the Demon Spawn can charge. And then the last part, I don't like that he's blocked in his units with the characters there. It makes it so I can't do any cheeky shenanigans of blocking mine in and then pushing him back because of how the 1-inch rule works. But it also makes it so if I charge him during the next steps, so it makes it so turn 2 he'll have to back up with them unless I charge, or to see if I charge or he charges, because he can't actually back up out of any range as he'll be trapped. So my turn 2, yeah, I don't get any charges off, but I do send some slaves forward to fight with the Salamander Primes. One is slightly farther back than the other. The one on the left is slightly back. The idea here is that it just, it makes it so when he charges, there's just better maneuverability and battle line stuff, blah, blah, blah. Because if he does a cross charge, he can't charge my left slaves with his primes because of the right ones being closer. And then if he fails to kill them off or double ones it, I get a free flank charge with my slaves onto whatever charges the left ones. So I'm fine with this. Otherwise, everything just pushes as hard as it can. On the left, I've decided to go close enough to the fire elementals that they could charge me if they wanted to. With my right slaves, just because it gets them in range of the Lachilodons. And then I can't do a whole lot with my scurriers, so I decide to just scurry a little bit to the right and take some shots where I can get them. One of the mistakes I think I made here is I direct some of my fire into the Gekata Sky Raiders, but I think I should have just thrown it all in there. But anyway, not what I did. Instead, I put some wounds onto his... I put 1 wound onto the Lachilodon on the right there. I put some wounds onto his Salamander Primes, 4 to be exact, probably with the lightning bolt from my big guy. And then I do throw some bows into his Sky Raiders over there, but I only do one or 2 wounds max. I think it's 1 this round just to, I guess, get that boxcar. I really need to start chipping the damage there quickly though, as they are a real pain in my butt. With this army, as I don't have a whole lot of ways to reach out and touch him, and he is quickly eliminating them with breath attack. So, turn 2. Yeah, turn 2, he sends another 7 wounds into the scurriers in the back here with his breath attack and Gekata, so yeah, it does exactly what it said. And you can see the combat a little bit here of his Ancients on Rhinosaurs charging my left slaves, the ones that were slightly back, while the Salamander Primes charge the right ones. And that's sort of the idea here, is that if he double ones these charges, I can get flank charges. It's not likely, it's just, take any advantage you can get. But he removes them and backs up with his Rhinosaurs the full 3, so I guess that's good. And it looks like the fire elementals didn't charge. I already knew that, but I'm wondering why. I probably would have just sent both in and backed up with 1. He'll lose 1, but this scenario in particular is about dictating who has the center of the board when. As if you just take the center, especially when you are a numerically superior opponent, as I am, it's really hard for your opponent to just force you out. They can kill you, but they probably can't actually outscore you. So maybe a minor mistake there. And yeah, here's the mistake I was talking about before, and I am guilty of this a lot, as you can see with my units, of putting his characters just right behind his horde of Salamander Primes, and he's trapped them. So now they cannot back up any, and you'll see how that's a mistake in a second here. When my turn comes around, yeah, I have a flank charge with these shock troops. If we look on the far right on this picture, those shock troops can actually charge the flank of his Salamander Primes, provided I get a bunch of slaves out of the way. So I get a bunch of slaves out of the way. The right 2 charge into Lachilodons, and the center 2 that were in front of the Blight charge into Fire Elementals. And I just have this perfect little choo-choo spot of shock troops being able to go forward, pivot, and then roll right into his primes. And then to make matters worse, I decide to take the other shock troops into the front. I put my Warlock to make sure that they're not disrupted or hindered. That's the word I was looking for. They're not hindered. The flank charge is hindered, but still. And on the left, the other scurriers have been eliminated. So the last unit of scurriers is just sitting up on that hill. They also have 7 wounds on them, so things aren't looking great for them. While my slaves charge into his Ancient Sun Rhinosaurs. I might have actually yellow-bellied this charge and just moved them 1, or slightly out of 1. I'm not exactly sure what happened to it. But anyway, I also send my assassin into his his clan lord, just because I need to turn off the flying this turn to make sure he can't flank charge my shock troops. So that's the idea there. Moving forward, from left to right, yeah, I do end up doing 1 wound with my assassin, so I turn off his flight. Very happy with that. The shock troops, they just roll through those Salamander Primes. They had 4 wounds on them before, but he has martyred them all off. I think the flank charge with, I think I actually put crushing onto the front charge, but the front charge doesn't even get to swing. The flank charge just rolls an insane amount of 5+s and just bullies this unit into double 1s. So I feel good about that. The slaves fighting Pharaoh Elementals, they do a wound, it looks like, so kudos them. And then I end up dropping one of the Lachilodons, the one that was actually out of inspiring, while the other one doesn't even get wavered. It does take 3 wounds though. So I'm very happy with this turn. I've eliminated his largest horde, his biggest piece of interdiction, and then I popped one of his Lachilodons. I'm in a great position to take the right flank and the center. The left is looking a little dicey, but I've slowed it down for a turn. I'm feeling good. And here's turn 3. Turn 3, he sends those Rhinosaurs right into the slaves in front of them, and both the Fire Elementals decide to charge one of my slaves here. Oh, let's actually walk a picture back. So the slaves end up doing this little scattered approach, because when I decide to do the slaves versus Fire Elementals first. The right slaves can back up 1 when they're done, as is what you do. But the right ones actually can't, because my shock troops are right behind them, so they can't back up. And then we can't push his unit back because he's put his BSB directly behind them. So instead, I just get to do this little dictate, you charge the front of 1 unit, not 2. So I feel very good about that. He sends, I think, both the Lachilodons into one of these slaves, and then decides to shoot the other one with Komanon. So, yeah, not great. And then on the left, I think he continues, he sends his clan lord into my assassin for sure. And then I think he just decides to take the Gekota and remove the last of the Scurriers. As you can see, they've taken 5 wounds from shooting. So at the end of his turn, he has killed the assassin. That's pretty likely. Then he's killed the Scurriers, again, pretty likely. He has apparently failed to kill the slaves versus the Fire Elementals. That's funny. But no, I'm guessing we haven't rolled that combat yet, because they're still in contact with me. The Lachilodons and Komanon have killed off my slaves that they were fighting, so, happens. And yeah, the Fire Elementals definitely killed those slaves. And I take, if we see here, I take this slave unit that was right in front of Fire Elementals and charge into a Lachilodon, the undamaged one, as it was the only one I could actually get to due to the placement of the Fire Elementals. And then I go for this cross charge with my Blight, Demon Spawn, and Shock Troops. So I could, if we walk a picture back, I can take these Shock Troops, these center Shock Troops. It might not look like it, but they are a front charge if I decide to charge into his Rhinosaurs. And I could take that charge, Rhinosaurs plus the Demon Spawn. It should, on average, put him at double 1 town, assuming I Bane Enchant them as well, which I would. But I could go for a riskier play, where my Blight, where I do that slave play where the right slaves charge into the Lachilodon off there by the building, the slaves behind them back up a little bit for space, and then the center ones are dead versus Fire Elementals. But I then would take the Shock Troops and Blight and charge 1 horde each of Fire Elementals, along with the Demon Spawn, which is what I went for in the end, helping out the Shock Troops. Yeah, this was a very risky play, and I think it only came up because I saw that I could get out of line of sight with everyone with those Shock Troops, and I was into my second beer at this point, as some people had gone out to during the lunch period and filled some growlers. So yeah, not the best tactical move in hindsight. I should have just gone for the charge on the Rhinosaurs, dropped them, and then sent the Shock Troops and Blight into one of the hordes of Fire Elementals and hoped to drop them as well. but it's not what I did. This is what I did. So, at the end of combat, you can see my Blight have killed off their fire elementals, so that's great. But the Demon Spawn and Shock Troops fail to kill theirs. They put 11 wounds on them, but they can't roll that 7 twice. So, yeah, the Demon Spawn so far in my games hasn't been stellar. It's fine. I mean, sometimes it rolls below average. In this game, it's not rolling below average. It's just, or if it is, it's rolling 1 below, right? Like, not a big variance, but it's never spiking its rolls, which with a piece like this, I really need it to sometimes, and it's just not getting it. So, yeah, I don't get that. It's looking, not looking great, as his clan lord can see the flank of the shock troops that failed to kill the fire elementals, and obviously the fire elementals that they charge can also charge them. So, and my demon spawn cannot even phase them. So I should have, in retrospect, either gone with the blight with the demon spawn, as that's far more likely to succeed, as they were unhindered, I could bane chant them, they were fighting a wounded unit of fire elementals. Or I should have just sent the demon spawn along with that shock troop horde that ran right past the rhinosaurs into the rhinosaurs and just dropped one of the fire elementals. This way I could have blocked up the charge and turned to face with shock troops and had the blight block off the other fire elementals from being able to flank charge anything. But it's not what I did. So hindsight's 2020. Turn 4. Turn 4, the clan lord and fire elementals go into my center shock troops. That's painful. The rhinosaurs go after a weapon team. That's what happens. I was just trying to block them from getting deeper into my deployment zone since we were playing invade here. And I also got some shots, I guess, but who cares? And yeah, the Commodon and both Lachilodons decide to charge some slaves just because they can, I guess. I don't know. The Commodon could have taken its 6+ shots onto my slaves that are behind my blight there, but I guess he decided he probably needed the extra damage from the blast to get work done. Otherwise, he just moves around with his units and casts Martyr's Prayer to get some wounds off those fire elementals. Or maybe he doesn't. No, I think he actually tries to fireball my my shock troops, the unengaged ones. So at the end of his turn, he has killed off the shock troops, run past them with his fire elementals, and turned to face my army with his ancients on rhinosaurs and the clan lord. And this is where it's such a big mistake what I did, because the demon spawn should be scaring these units from being able to do this, but instead he's facing nothing. So yeah, again, one of the reasons why I prefer to have a breath attack or a fireball over having lightning bolt, as it's just not the way I play these units. I like to get my dragon-esque units into the middle of the fray. So anyway, on my turn 5, I decide to charge with the Vermintide that have just been rolling up the right flank out of frame the entire game into the flank of the Commodon, because they can't fit into a Lachilodon, along with the Blight. I get a flank charge with my slaves onto his last horde of fire elementals, and my demon spawn charges into his wounded mage priest. Now, I could have gone for a charge into his ASB and got the overrun into the mage priest, as I would have only needed a 2+ to do it, but I am staring down the ancient on Rhinosaur, and if he gets the flank charge onto my demon spawn, I just don't have anything going for me. So I need to be able to face towards this end of the table, so I go for the wounded prey first. It looks like I have the shock troops have not moved yet. They're not just going to give their rear to the clan lord if they can help it. So yeah, the shock troops find another spot where they can't be charged. They can't be charged by his clan lord or the rhinosaurs, and if the Gekota want to charge them, it's actually a front charge. So it's just this like perfect storm of a spot. At the end of the combat, I easily kill off his mage priest with my demon spawn and turn to face his army. I am out of charge range of the rhinosaurs. The clan lord can obviously charge me, but he probably won't. And then my Blight and the Vermintide kill off the Commodon, and the Blight turn to face his army, while the Vermintide block off a rear charge from Lachilodons. This isn't my favorite thing, but I think I have to do it because I can't take a flank or a rear from that Clan Lord on Fire Drake, who is just, throwing a wrench in my game here. But anyway, turn 5. I'm sorry, I said that was my turn 5. That was my turn 4. Turn 5. My opponent shoots everything he has into that Shock Troop board, just trying to drop them off, and backs up a little bit with his Ancients and Clan Lord. My Demon Spawn can still charge, not the Ancients, but he can charge the Clan Lord if he wants. The Mage Priest casts Martyr's Prayer onto his Ancients on Rhinosaurs, pulls all 6 wounds because that's how Martyr's Prayer rolls. So I won't be doing any charges with that Demon Spawn, I don't think. And then the Lechilodons just open fire onto my Vermintide and kill it. So things aren't looking great for the old Ratkin right now, but let's see how the game goes. When I charged those Fire Elementals in the flank with the slaves, I definitely cast Bane Chant on them and moved my Warlock so I wouldn't be hindered due to the obstacle. And yeah, popped them easily last turn. Very good thing I did though. That's a terrible picture. So my turn 5, I run away with my Warlock and put my slaves in danger or in harm's way, but I'm just trying to tempt him over here. Again, in retrospect, not the best move as I'm tempting him over here, but I'm tempting him over here, and then my Blight have to turn to face the Lechilodons. So what's the bait? He charges into me with a Clan Lord. I guess he probably wouldn't kill them with the Clan Lord, and then I can flank charge him with the Demon Spawn. Okay, fine. It's a fine idea. But anyway, I decide to take some Lightning Bolt shots onto his Lechilodons. I don't do anything to them though. And turn 6. Turn 6, my opponent just backs up onto his side of the field. The previous turn, he had put, I think 14 wounds or something like that onto my horde of Shock Troops and rolls pretty poorly. Actually, a big thing that I forgot to mention, when he charged my horde of Shock Troops in the flank with that Clan Lord and in the front with the Fire Elementals, I just gave it a hand wave obviously he killed it. But he actually didn't roll that well in the combat, and he needed a 10 twice, but he gets it, so, happens. But at least he was not punished for doing the right thing, so there's that. He drops off that horde of Shock Troops, and at the end of his 6, he's sitting on 2 points for the Gecko Tot, 3 points for the Rhinosaurs, and 1 point for his Clan Lord. So he's sitting on 6 points, while I'm sitting on 3 points for the Blight and 1 point for the Demon Spawn. So it is a 6-4 in his favor right now. So on my turn 6, I line up these Lightning Bolts right on his Gecko Tot Sky Raiders. I do 5 wounds to them, and then I roll a 10, which is why I told you that story earlier. But yeah, so I roll that 10 there. He's slightly out of Inspire range, and I nab a draw from the jaws of defeat. So feeling pretty good about it. After all said and done, we tally it up, and it ends up being another 10-10 draw. So yeah, I guess that's not the worst thing in a tournament, but walking in with 2 10-10s just gives you mixed feelings. I think, I'm not, going, oh, my dice are terrible, so at least there's that. But I'm also not doing very well, so happens. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.